As- Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah. Give thanks to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who has spared our lives to this moment. We pray, accept our ibadat. Ameen. Welcome us back to the uh, next lesson of. And tonight we shall be having Nahw Class 87. And as usual, our reference book is still Nahw Wadi Part 2, Book 2. So the topic for tonight is Na'ib al-Fa'il Part 1. And under that we have Bنية الأفعال المبنية للمجهول. That is the Deputy Action Doer Part 1 and pattern of passive verbs. So we are looking at pattern of passive verbs under Na'ib al-Fa'il tonight. So it has been taken under the solveful classes, but we are still going to revise the formation of passive verbs. Passive verbs are verbs whose doers or the performance of the action are hidden or unknown. That is, they are verbs that do not have performance, that do not have doer of the action. For example, we have doroba, which means he beats. So doroba is a verb that requires the performer and the receiver, that is the doer and the receiver. So let's bring a sentence. We have doroba zaidun anasan, like we have here. Doroba zaidun anasan. Zaid beats Anas. This is a complete sentence with the normal active verb. So passive verb is now formed by removing the doer of the sentence, and we'll be left with the receiver. But the shape of the verb will change. So by doing that, we are going to have an example here. We have Duriba Anasun. So we've removed Zaid, which performed the action. Then we have just the verb and the receiver. But the verb is going to change its shape. So we have Duriba Anasun. The meaning of the initial one, Doroba Zaidun Anasan, was Zaid beat Anas, which is clear, which shows our doer and the receiver. But here we have Duriba Anasun. Anas was beaten. So if you notice, Anas here was taking Nosbu, Fathatan, but Anas here is taking Domotan. That's its reasons. So as we go, we are going to be knowing all those things. So other examples of passive verbs, you have Kutila. He was killed or it was killed. Duriba, he was beaten or it was beaten. Burika, he or it was blessed. Ukhrija, it was taken out or it was taken out. And other examples like that. The shape for passive verbs, for three-lettered verbs, is formula. Three-lettered passive verbs come in the shape formula. That is fa domofu ain kesro ain lam fatiala formula. That is the shape for what? For three letters. So this same shape also reflects in the higher verbs, also in the 4, 5, and 6 lettered verbs. So let's see how we form them for 4, 5, and 6 lettered verbs. So using the same pattern formula, the following steps should be taken. The first one, the ainul fi'l, the fa'ul fi'l should take domo. The very first letter of the verb should take what? Domo. Then the second letter should take kesro, while the third letter takes what? Fatha. That is for what? For three-lettered verbs. Then we repeat the same thing for higher one, and all sukun will now remain the same. Then the fifth letter is any other haraka found at other positions not mentioned above will take domo. So first, fa will fail takes domo, ain will fail takes kesro, and the lam will fail takes fatha. That's the first three steps. Then the fourth step, all sukun, all the sukun on all other parts of the verb will remain the same, while all other positions that have not been mentioned above will take domo. For example, let's take af'ala for example. Af'ala has additional hamza with fa, ain, and lam. So the first letter, which is the hamza, will take domo. The ain will take kasro, and the lam will take fatha. That is the first rule. Then the fourth rule says all sukun remains the same, while the other positions take domo. So first step, our hamza has taken domo. The second step, the ain will fail takes kasro. So we have uf'in. Then third step, lam al-fi'l takes fatha. We have uf'ila. Then the sukun remains the same. That means the fa that is taking sukun takes its sukun. Nothing will change there. So we have af'ala changing to what? Uf'ila. The very first letter of the verb takes dhamma. The ainul fi'l takes kasra and the lamul fi'l takes fatha. Then the sukun remains the same. So that is the same thing we've applied here from af'ala. So it gives us what? Uf'ila. Examples, we have akhraja, ukhrija, ato, utiya. So let's consider istaf'ala now. Let's consider istaf'ala. The very first letter of istaf'ala is the hamzatul wasli here. So it's going to take dhamma. Then our ainul fi'l, the ainul fi'l, which is the ain here taking fatha, we take what? Kasra. That's the second step. Then the third step, the lamul fi'l, we take fatha. Then first step is all other sukuns remains the same. That is, the sukun we have on the sin and on the fa remains the same. So what are we left with? We are left with ta. We have accounted for the first letter, which is hamza, that has taken domo here. We've accounted for the ainul fi'l, which is the ain that we can see here taking kesro. Then we've accounted for the lam. Then we've accounted for the fa and sin taking sukun. So what we have left is this ta here. That is what we have left. We've not accounted for the ta. So that takes the fifth rule, which says all other letters in the word will take domo. All other letters that we've not accounted for will take domo. So that way we have what? Ustuf'ila. Ustuf'ila. So examples there, we have istighfara, ustufira, istakhraja, ustukhrija. So another pattern we have if'alla. If'alla is a khumasi verb, 5-lettered verb, and the shadda on the lam indicates 2 lambs taking fatha, like we have in the bracket here. So the first step, very first step, hamzatul wasl takes dhamma. Then the ainul fi'l will take kasra. The second to the last letter. The second to the last letter takes kasra. Then the last letter takes fatha. So we have, then the sukuns remain the same. Then other letters that have not been accounted for, which is the ain here, we take dhamma. So let's go over. Hamzatul wasl takes dhamma. The second to the last letter, which is lam here, because we've opened the shadda, takes kasra. The last letter, which is the lam here, takes fatha. Our sukun remains the same, then any other letter takes dhamma. So we have uf'ulila. Then from uf'ulila, we join the lambs together again to get uf'ulla. Another shape, we have tafa'ala. First letter, which is the ta, changes to dhamma. Then the second to the last letter, which is the ain here, takes what? Kasra. The lam takes fatha. What have we not accounted for is the fa. The fa is what is left. It takes what? Dhamma. So if the fa takes dhamma, alif cannot elongate dhamma. So the alif changes to wa. So we have what? Tufu'ila. So tafa'ala becomes tufu'ila. An example is tanawala, tunuwila. So all of these are shapes that can take the shapes that can come in passive verbs. So we have fa'ala, fu'ila, af'ala, uf'ila, fa'ala, fu'ila, fa'ala, fu'ila, fa'lala, fu'lila, ifta'ala, iftu'ila, or we say uftu'ila, if'alla, uf'ulla, tafa'ala, tufu'ila, tafa'ala, tufu'ila, tafa'lala, tufu'lila, istaf'ala, ustuf'ila. So first step, give the very first letter dhamma. Second step, you go to the second to the last letter and give it kasra. Third step, you give the last letter fatha. Fourth step, all sukun on other letters remain the same. Then the last step, any other letter that has not been accounted for takes dhamma. So this is how we form passive verbs for fi'l madi. Now for fi'l mudari, the same thing happens. For three-lettered verbs, the three-lettered verbs of fi'l mudari is yuf'alu. That is, we have fa'ala, yaf'alu. The harful mudari changes to dhamma, and the second to the last letter takes fatha, while the last letter takes dhamma. So we have yaf'alu becomes yuf'alu. So this same pattern reflects in the higher verbs also. Don't forget some of the verbs in the higher verbs, the harful mudara, that is in four lettered verbs, takes dhamma already. The harful mudara of four lettered verbs in fi'l mudari takes dhamma already, so we shouldn't mix them up. So all other ones that are not dhamma will become dhamma. So the first step here, harful mudara takes dhamma. Second step, the second to the last letter takes fatha, while the last letter takes what? Takes dhamma. So the first step, all sukuns on the other letters remains the same, and their position also remains the same. For example, we have af'ala. The fourth lettered verbs af'ala. What's the fi'l mudari of af'ala? It is yuf'ilu. Af'ala becomes yuf'ilu. So the first step, harful mudara takes dhamma. That is already in the verb yuf'ilu. Then second to last letter takes fatha. Then we have yuf'a. Then the lam takes dhamma. We have yuf'alu. The sukun remains the same on the fa, what we've been pronouncing. So yuf'ilu becomes yuf'alu. So we have af'ala, yuf'alu. For fi'lu mudari, we have af'ala, yuf'ilu, but the mudari of passive verbs becomes yuf'alu according to the rules that we mentioned above. Akhraja, yukhriju, passive becomes yukhraju. Qatala, yuqatilu, passive becomes yuqatalu. So the major change that is there for four-lettered verbs is just that the second to the last letter that takes kasra before take fatha. It takes fatha. The harful mudara of four-lettered verbs is already taking dhamma. So the only thing we change in summarily, the only thing we change in takes kasra before to now take fatha for passive verbs. Another pattern for istaf'ala, yastaf'ilu, the harful mudara changes to dhamma. We have you, then the second to the last letter taking kasra before now takes fatha, then last letter takes dhamma. So all sukun remain the same. So istaf'ala, yastaf'ilu becomes yustaf'alu. Second to the last letter taking kasra must return back to fatha. So example, we have istagfara, yustagfaru. Istakhraja, yustakhraju. Second to the last letter taking kasra must take fatha, and harful mudara takes what? Dhamma. All other sukuns remain the same. If Allah, opening the lam, we have if alala, yaf'alilu, that is yaf'alu. So observing the same rule, we are supposed to have yuf'alalu. Then we join the letters together, we have yuf'alu. So second to last letter here change to fatha, but since if Allah is taking shadda already, it may not reflect if you do not open it. So what we are just changing will just be the harful mudara of Allah summarily. But if you open the lam, you must follow each of the steps. Second to the last letter that is taking kasra before must take fatha, harful mudara takes dhamma, and the last letter takes dhamma. So if Allah yaf'alu becomes yuf'alu. Tafa'ala, yatafa'alu is the mudari. Harful mudara takes dhamma. We have you. Then second to the last letter that takes fatha remains fatha because this is khumosita'i. The verbs for khumosita'i are what? Always the second to the last letter of the verbs for khumosita'i takes fatha already. So there is nothing we are changing here. So our fatha remains, then the last letter takes dhamma. So yatafa'alu becomes what? Yutafa'alu. Example, you have tanawala, yatanawalu, yutanawalu. So what is changing here is just the harful mudara. Why? Because our second to the last letter in this kind of verb, khumositai are already taking fatha. The second to the last letters in those forms, they are already taking fatha. So there is no change again. So the popular, the commonly used past active verb patterns are fa'ala, yaf'alu becomes what? Yuf'alu. Af'ala becomes yuf'alu. Fa'ala becomes yufa'alu. Fa'ala becomes yufa'alu. Fa'alala yufa'lalu. Ifta'ala yufta'alu. If'alla yuf'allu. Tafa'ala yutafa'alu. Tafa'ala yutafa'alu. Tafa'alala yutafa'alalu. Istaf'ala yustaf'alu. So these are the patterns of الافعال المدار الافعال المبني للمجهول, that is passive verbs. So these are the forms. Remember, for madi, for past tense verbs, we have what? You change the first letter to domo, second to the last letter you give it kasro, then the last letter you give it fatha. That is how we form for then those are the first three steps. The first step is that all sukun remains the same, and the last step, any letter that was not accounted for, we change to domo. Then for mudorium, the harful mudora becomes changed to domo. The second to the last letter changed to fatha, and any other and the sukun remains. We get the pattern for al الأفعال المبنية للمجهول, that is for passive verbs. How we get the pattern. So for more information and more understanding, you can go back to the sorrowful class. This has already been done in the sorrowful, one of the sorrowful classes, so you can always go back to those videos. We pray Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes this beneficial one. The next video is going to be on the second part of Nahw Class. So, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.